integrity, sometimes you really don't have it. Now, that is a hard pill to swallow, but that's who we are. Can you say we? That's who we are. Now, the excellence, because excellence honors God and reflects his character. Mark, why aren't you looking at your notes? I don't have to. I've become those values. I was becoming those values as a lost sinner who came into the kingdom. This was not brand new to me. And so, just so you know, when I became a campus pastor, and thank you so much for the honor and the privilege of taking the risk of Sharon and I. And when I went, I had no thoughts in my mind to reinvent the wheel. All I ever wanted to do was that you would walk into the church, the campus that we oversaw, and that you would feel the exact same thing you felt when you walked into where they pastored. That was it. My goal, it didn't matter what my dreams were, what my visions were. I was a campus pastor. And although he gave me and Sharon tons of freedom, my heart felt to this day is only that at the base of who we are, that you would be able to walk in, 2 30-year-old drunk kids, you'd be able to walk in and experience at least, but I had no idea what it cost to cultivate that. But I walked into it. And so we would be told time after time, when I say not reinvent the wheel, I'm sorry if you don't think I'm a person of vision. You should hang around with me for 10 minutes. But that's not the point, guys. The point was I had already found. Now there wasn't a recipe book to this except for the Bible. And so we became Victory at Boardman. So people would walk in that were from the old days of Victory, and they'd say, oh, this is exactly what it was like. And I would go, got it, we got it, we got it. Now they come in and go, this is exactly what it was like at Victory. And I would go, and my heart would go, I know. And by the way, I wasn't there in those days. So I am my father's son. I am. But I'm me. I'm Mark. He wears 10 and a half, 11. He wears 11s. I wear 9 and a half, 10. I can't fit in his shoes. But I will put them on, tie them tight, and walk around in them as much as I can to get a feel of what it would be like. You got to pick your guy. That's my thing. All right, so legacy values. So now you see what you see on that first page there, you see who we are. We're a global kingdom of alliance exists to relationally connect. And you're like, why are you doing it like that? Because it doesn't matter what that says if we don't have the proper value system. So we have culture. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. On the first blank page, you'll see a blank page, and it has 3 blank spaces. What are your 1, 2, or 3 values are yours? And if you want to give me your churches, that's okay, but you need your personal, say the word personal. You need your personal values right now, okay? What are they? Well, I want you to write them down on the paper. If you only get one, get one. If you can give me 2 or 3, give me 2 or 3. If you've become your church's values, go ahead. But if they're not yours, they can be your church's. If they're not yours, don't write them down. It's okay if you can't put anything right now. As this goes on, you'll be able to. Now remember, I'm going to give you another definition of culture. This is not going to be on a slide. I have all this for you. I can email it. And this is a 5-part teaching that I can send you all of the information if you want it. Okay, we're only going through one part today. Here is the working definition that we used as our former church, Victory, and today as Mercy House, is the continuation and the Joshua generation of what was planted over a generation ago. Here's the active working definition of culture for us. The beliefs, customs, I'm going to say it and then I'll give it back to you later. The beliefs, customs, way of life, the thinking, the behaving, the working that exists in your church, place, or organization. It is our DNA. That's what our culture is. Not the theory or the hope. I know we all have that because as we are reestablishing it in some ways, planting a new work, it just doesn't sound right to me. But literally, what goes on and is lived out every day over time. And then as Pastor Jeff said, culture is the atmosphere needed to accomplish the vision that you have. Okay? And so here's some key words in the myriad of definition of culture. Okay, here's some key words. Belief. Your beliefs. Your values, and that's what we're going to hit on today. Your values, your customs, your ways of thinking. Cultivated behavior over time that is reflected through your attitudes, your communication, your traditions, and shared experience. Some of that's, it's not going to be on there. This is all the stuff. This is the pre. So I want to paint a picture for you this morning. So when I told you we had that conversation, Bishop, in our basement, and he said, men, do not, if you compromise your values now, you're going to live to regret it. I've watched men compromise their values in the big room. Okay, so I want you to think today. You're dressed fine. I know we're casual today. I seen Pastor Brett had a jacket on. He came into the thing last night, and even Jed looked at him like, man, what is going on here? He just came in like, yeah. You know, these guys all got muscles. Why did I? But Jesse, he's the only one that has a jacket on. Okay, so I want you to think we're all standing around a huge glass table today, like one of those world leader tables. And we're all standing in front of the chair. We're all standing in front of our chair. Bishop's down on the corner down there. And he's standing there, he gets you. We're going to talk about some stuff today. I'm going to get you. That's how he gets when he gets going. I'm sorry. So he's standing down there. And he says, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to make decisions around this table once we sit down. And I need from you to bring your values to the table. So don't sit down without them, because the trajectory of the kingdom and people's lives matter. And they're going to be mattered by the decisions we make around this table. Can you feel that? Okay? That actually happened to us. That actually happened. And so there's 5 things I remember every day. I teach our team. I'm always saying it. And these 5 things, very quickly, the next slide, we use the word honor, but I'm going to use the word value. Value people. Whatever you do, value people. When you're done valuing people, value people. Think honor. Honor is a valuing. It's another way to say it in case you're talking to a group of people that don't go to your church, but they're getting saved while you're talking. Value people. The next thing is think of ways to add value to people. So we value people. We're talking about values today, but we have to have a mindset. Value people. Think of ways to add value. Look for ways to add value. We think of ways to do it, we look for ways to do it, and then we do things to add value. And then ultimately and finally, we encourage others to have value. Every day, value people. Think of ways to add value. Look for ways to add value. Do things to add value and encourage others to add value. Now, this is called the Leadership Challenge. We're only going to talk about number 1 today, but the 5 practices of exemplary leadership. I'll explain in a minute. It's model the way. Here's your 5, the next slide. The model the way, inspire a shared value. You'll see it up here. Inspire a shared value, then challenge the process, enable others to act, and encourage the heart. We're only doing number 1 today. Model the way. What does the word exemplary mean? The word exemplary means deserving of imitation. We need to be leaders that are deserving of imitation, serving as the example. Your values are of utmost importance because you're creating the culture. You create them with your value system. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1, very familiar scripture. Imitate me just as I also imitate Christ. So we know that we're Bible-believing Christians and we want to be like Jesus. Amen? We imitate the Lord, and then people will imitate us. That's exemplary leadership. Okay? Now remember, I said this earlier to you, culture is passed on by communication and imitation from one generation to the next. So we are in the 2nd generation of our church, and there is communication. The words we're using today are our legacy family. This is this is so much bigger than it was at Victory. I'm from this. I grew up in it. So I'm intently telling you that things were communicated and they were imitated. You preach just like your pastor. Of course I do. I didn't know how to preach, so I watched him and did what he does. And then you act like him when he was younger. Now that I didn't know. That's DNA, because I wasn't around when he was my age, when he was jumping up around and screaming. But I'm gonna say, I do have to pause here. Bishop, you have to stop saying you weren't the best preacher around. I have to push back a little bit. You can preach. You could preach then, you could preach now, and that's just not talk. I mean, any of you, Pastor Kathy, will you tell him? Did you tell him? But okay, now we're going to get into this, and I have so much I want to say to you, so I'm going to try to say it all. But leadership is a process ordinary people use when they're trying to bring forth the best from themselves and for others. It's in your book. And exemplary, we talked about that, so we're going to keep going from there. And I want you to know this, that from once you come into the kingdom, leadership is everyone's business. And this is where it gets kind of interesting. I want to try to put, and I thank God for this book that Bishop gave us years ago that we never dove into as campus pastors, and so I dove into it. Leaders work on themselves before others. Okay? The first person you lead is you. You understand that. This is of utmost importance to you, because if you're unhealthy, if you're unhealthy, the people you lead will be unhealthy. Now, you could fake it for a while. You could go through things. Don't get me wrong. And we like to talk about our scars, and we don't even run with people that don't have a limp. You know? Okay. So, but here we go. Leaders work on themselves for others. Leaders' lives are mirrors. Leaders' lives are mirrors, reflecting the precepts they want those they lead to follow. So, my personal value, my top 3 values are, first of all, our church's values, our Victory's values, our Legacy's values. Those are ours. So when we do all of our stuff, nothing's changed. From this meeting to that meeting, but that's me though. Okay, so that, because I was born into the kingdom this way. So I just keep doing what my fathers did. Now we love God, we love people, we love life. That's what we would always say at Victory. It was true. That's what we did. Now we love God, we love people, we love mercy. In this next season, this is the added to what we're doing. This is the quote unquote, it's not new, mercy's not new, but this is who we are now. We are surrounding our region with mercy, one act of kindness at a time. That's what we do. How are you going to do it? One act of kindness at a time. What does that mean? One act of kindness at a time. Because you're going to do it differently than I'm going to do it. And I'm called to the church, and I have this stream in the business world. That's who I am. So when some people hear the cry of the low housing project down the street, we have a great outreach pastor. Thank you very much for being the twin brother of Jed and Pastor Jeremiah. He hears a different cry that I do. But when we talk together, we cry together. Right? And so I can see right now, if I look straight ahead, and I've preached here many times, some of the greatest honors of my life, I can see the CEO in the boardroom with a gun in his mouth. I can see it right now. And he's wondering, should I pull the trigger? I'm so successful, but something's wrong. See, this is the things that I'll go on. The reason we're Horizon is because one day I found myself, because honor is the language of the kingdom. I found myself in the back of a plane going to Israel, and I opened up the window and I saw a horizon. We were over the Mediterranean Sea that I never saw before. So I saw the clouds, I saw the sky, I saw the water, but I never would have saw that horizon had not David Thomas and Bishop Robert Stearns, the 2 bishops, had not invited me to be on that plane. I want to be that guy. I want to help people get pulled up to see a horizon they would not have seen unless God did something in me, and then I was able to pull them up to see a horizon they wouldn't have seen without me. That's why we're Horizon Leadership. That's why I wore it today. So let me go on. Leaders are to be the example in the world that we want others to emulate. Pastor Jeff, you said about 3 things, and people are like, why don't you talk about Belize enough? Because I'm still unpacking some of the things you said in the icebox room, because we had one room that had air conditioner. We didn't stay in air conditioner. That's Jeff's fault, because Jeff's that kind of leader. Everybody else gets air conditioning, then me and Mark can have it. I felt so good about it. I was like, Jeff's such a good pastor while we're sweating, while we're sleeping. We didn't sweat while we were asleep. He said to me, he said, what, and please help me correct. You're going to say, what did I say? You said, what we do as leaders in moderation, the people we lead will do in excess. What we do in moderation, the people that we lead will do in excess. And so we are the leaders. We need to be the examples. And leaders are influencers, not the kind that how many likes you get. But the truth is, as leaders, we are influencers. That'll be our next, you see that on there. And John Maxwell said, I respect John Maxwell greatly. He is the vehicle, his teachings are the vehicle that I use in order to get into the business world to get everybody saved. Vision isn't everything, but it's the beginning of everything. Now, we know that culture eats breakfast for lunch. So if you could do all you want with vision and everything, but if you have the wrong culture, your vision will never take off. It'll never take off. I don't care what you're doing. It could be in your home. It could be in your ministry. It could be in the church. It doesn't matter. If you don't have the right culture, you're never going to see the vision God gave you come to pass. So you have to be able to identify your values, because sometimes, I want to say something for shock value, but it's true. We were sitting around our leadership. Meeting, and Debbie and Sharon are here to make sure I don't say anything that isn't true. And we were walking around the room. We were going around the room, and I said, "What are your 1, 2, or 3 values?" We wrote them down. We're going to do what we're doing in here today. And somebody said, "God." And I do, okay, just kept going. And then they said the Bible. Now listen, Pastor Jeff said 14 scriptures that I get 14 different things out of the scripture that he gets something totally different, even though it has a particular meaning. Are you with me on that? And what I'm talking about is we come together, and this is very important. We come together and we have a biblical value system, but our team, our church family, they have the same Bible, but what they think is the top of their value system is different than mine. My number one value is loyalty. Boy, does this get me in trouble. It's loyalty. My number 2, my 1A, or number 2 is integrity, and then honor. But they're my top 3, loyalty, integrity, honor. So people have accused me that my loyalty is what they saw when it was my integrity, but I don't let go of people who paved the way for me. I've never publicly spoken a negative word about the man I work for, Brett and I both work for, Bill and Carol Kelly. They will always go down, they're in their middle to later 80s, they will go down in the history of you hearing me preach about the people who gave me my opportunity to take my family and raise my children in a shoe store. I don't know if you know this, but I used to work in a shoe store. And were they perfect? Absolutely not. But where they were imperfect, you're never going to hear about. Why? Because I choose to be loyal. They kept me employed when the place was not doing very well. And then when it was doing very well, they kept, so that's how I roll. I can't change that. I can't change that. Once I'm I'm so imperfect. I'm still working on it, but once you're my friend, that's it. I'm not allowed to say what I'm about to say, and I'm going to say it anyway. Don't look at Sharon when I say it. I'll fight for some of the people in this room, physically fight. Fight. Throw down. So I got to be careful. Integrity is number 1A. These are mine. So on my paper, my true north, my compass. I say that to you so that you smile. But I wrestle with those things. I wrestle when people leave my church. I thought we've done enough that you would never leave. Then I hear this echo. It's not about you. Ain't it about me a little bit? No, it's not about you. And then honor. So Christian leaders, as we continue today, I need you to remember these. You have to answer these 2 questions, and only you can answer them. Who am I really serving? And am I ready to suffer? I did not sign up for this. I didn't. No, I didn't sign up for this. But I wouldn't change a thing now. But I didn't sign up for it, though. And you didn't sign up for it. Our poor nursery director, Shandy Lute, she can see Jesus in the clouds. She ran over 3 snakes this week, and we're getting all the text messages of how prophetic it is. And I said, you know what? This makes you the perfect person to be our nursery director. First week she goes down there, she's fighting with 3 different moms. And I'm like, oh, it's not all her fault, but I'm like, oh, God, did I make the right decision? But I know there's a call of God on her life. It's not about the nursery. But I know there's a call of God on her life. And she loves kids. And if you knew her story, the only she could tell, she's getting a chance to mother children that she never got to mother when she had children. And not a lot of people know that. Bigger, and Sharon mentors her, and pastors her and does a great job. Shandy has the largest team now in our church. Out of all the teams, Shandy's team, you can't pay people to go in the nursery sometimes. She has the largest team. Of our couple hundred people or so, she has the largest team. 5 practices of an exemplary leader. Number 1, and this is the one we're talking about today, we as leaders model the way. Exemplary leaders, everyone, find their voice. Okay? Bishop said to us in the basement, you have a voice. Don't compromise your values, right? Didn't he say that? I told you he said that. By clarifying your personal values, not your corporate, not your church yet, we'll get there, your personal values, and then expressing those values authentically or in your own style. This is where it gets good. There is a reason why God and your personal value system, no matter how, now we say words like integrity, honor, character, spirit of excellence. We use these terms because they mean something to us. You may say something totally different, but you have to be able to clarify. Say clarify. That doesn't mean I think this is what they are. I think this is what they are is where you start. You know what they are, you talk about them, you wrestle with them, and you clarify them. Mark, why do I want to do that? Because your culture, if you don't do it, you will not have culture in your church. You won't. Because you won't even understand you in order to understand everybody else. Okay? So your personal values, then expressing them in your own personal style. This is where I refuse to not be me. Now, I've done leaps and bounds, my wife will tell you, with loyalty. All I had to do was lose a whole church. Who in here don't know it now? This is the church that knows it. I was sitting over there weeping, and God said, get up and tell the story. I didn't want to tell the story. But and I was thinking about that today. But the truth is I have to express my personal values authentically. And you have to do the same. But if you don't clarify them, how do you do that? It's already coming out of you. It's the scriptures that you do. Okay, everybody have their favorite scripture or their defining scripture, their life verse. Y'all have one? Okay, you have one? I didn't realize this, but my life verse is my value system, but I didn't know that. Because I didn't talk like this. We got to learn to put some words to this, and I think this really helps. So my life verse is New Living Translation of Proverbs chapter 3, verse 3 and 4. It says, never let loyalty and kindness leave you. It's on the key, the big key. Never let loyalty and kindness leave you. Tie it around your neck as a reminder. Write it on the tablet of your heart. Then you will gain favor with both God and man, earn a good reputation. Well, the New King James Version says, never let mercy and truth forsake. And I'm like, mercy house! I'm sorry, but that's what happened. So God will even draw you and lead you by your personal values. Okay, secondly, they set the example, your personal values, by, watch, and this is where we're going, by aligning your personal actions with shared values. We're going to talk about, wait a minute, wait, what's this mean? So we as leaders, we set the example by aligning our personal values with our shared values. But if we don't clarify our personal, how do we ever share them And until you sit with somebody or a team and go, what are your 1, 2, or 3 values? They cannot be shared with one another, which creates the culture that some of you are fighting against the culture. It's only because we're not clarifying the values that we have amongst us. So in other words, Jeff, what's your number 1? Loyalty. I know what it is. That's why I asked you. So I know, why are we so close? Because he's loyal and I'm loyal. So I just go like this. It's kind of like 2 complaining people in church. They're going to find each other anyway. It's so easy to be friends with Jonathan. But if I didn't, and I know this, I can tell you the find your voice. To earn and sustain personal credibility, you must be able to find your voice. And how do you do that? By clarifying your personal values and expressing them in your own style. Listen, everyone, by finding your voice, you take the first step along the endless journey to become a leader. Okay? Y'all with me there? I'm going slow, fast. I'm like a transmission that's slipping. I know it. By finding your voice, you take the first step along the endless journey of becoming a leader by asking yourself what values you bring to your people. You'll always stay at the leading edge. Pastor Jeff said it earlier. You got to know who you are. You got to know why when you see things that it irritates you or you love it so much. Because it's essential for you to find your voice because values serve as your guides. That's your next fill in the blank. It's essential for you to find your voice because values serve as your guides. And the clearer that you are, the easier it is to stay on the path you've chosen. So Pastor Jeff said if you don't have a culture, someone's going to come in and they'll define it for you. Same thing with vision. But our team will eventually become the Mercy House. Eventually. We're on our way. But that's a tall order. To surround the region with mercy. Do you know what we're fighting against in our region? Our region has lost its ability to show mercy. And some of the very people, like the guy with the microphone, is the one they threw it on and showed the least to. Okay, so what? Well, here's what I'm going to do, Mark. I'm going to use you and make a statement with you. You're going to surround the region with mercy, one act of kindness at a time. And your values are what's going to sustain you when you feel the pressure. I come from the culture. I have the DNA. It's not going to get shaken, rocked, or moved. And I'm not trying to poke the devil in the eye. You're not going to change the foundation of Jesus Christ and the DNA we have at Mercy House. You'll never be able to do it. You'll leave. And now, when you gossip in our church, you'll feel sick to your stomach. Because we'll just go like this. We don't do it. We don't do it. It happened the other night. We were all out to dinner. And someone just started saying something they thought it was funny about someone. And it was funny what they said. We didn't even react. We just kept eating. And they knew, oh, man, they don't have to say nothing to me. We just don't go there. It's essential that you be able to express your values in a way that is genuinely and authentically you. You must authentically communicate your beliefs in ways that uniquely represents who you are. Does that make sense to you guys? A couple more, because then I'm going to tell you a story or two, and we're going to get out of here. Clarity about personal values is an essential part of modeling the way for others. Okay, I know why Pastor is allowing that person to go longer at what they're doing when they're not that good at it. I know why. Why? He's loyal. Everybody, surround Pastor's loyalty, help him, because even though his wife is very close to the same, and she's the voice in his ear, along with leaders, he's going to let people who aren't great at what they're doing continue to do it for longer than most people. Why? He's loyal. And I would tell you that I'm going to change. I'm 53. I know you can't believe it. I'm going to change one day. But I know how loyal and how long-suffering and merciful people have been to me when I didn't deserve it and when I needed it most. So when you're leading a group or an organization, you have to come from what I believe to what we believe. This is a big transition because, Pastor, when we talk about this is the style of worship we're going to have, this is the kind of preaching we do. We're a revival church, and we're a revival/practical church, and we're all this stuff. But this is what I believe. And as the key leader, I believe it. I'm steering the ship. But if it's always what I believe and not what we believe, then we don't have a culture. We have a dictatorship. So what I believe has to become what we believe. And can I tell you something? 2.5 years later, we're still talking about the same thing in leadership meetings, and we're talking about it in men's groups. And people are like, are you going to talk about something else? No, because our culture leaks more than our vision. So what's the culture? What's the DNA culture? Well, I can tell you the value system so you can understand it. We cannot, this is huge. In leaders, this is hard for us. We cannot impose our values from the top. Many people have tried, and it only leads to compliance or rebellion. And this is the biggest thing for me today, and this is the point I want to drive home. Values cannot be forced. They must be forged. Values cannot be forced. They must be forged. But it's not, and here's how you forge them. You go through the fire. You go through the fire with them. And when you walk in honor and somebody is bringing a teeny bit tinsy level of dishonor towards you and you're looking at them going, why are you doing that? And you would think, well, because they're walking in dishonor. No, their value system at the top of theirs is different than yours. So because everybody in the room would say they walk in, the honor is in your top 3 or 5. You can't even be part of legacy and it not be in the top 5. But some people, it's 5. So if your top value is honor, you're going to have issues with people who it's their number 5. I mean, it's in there. It's one of the little spices, but it's not the main ingredient. Well, where we come from, like we try never to come off of it. So when you say something dishonoring to me, I don't get mad. I'll tell her, why? Why are they being that way? I'm not talking about people in the congregation. I'm talking about leaders. And I'm thinking to myself, in some cases, you're older than me. In some cases, you mentored me. And then I realize that's not their number 1. That's not their number 2. And the reason that they're having trouble expressing themselves is because they don't take time to clarify it. We just default and say God. We default and say Bible. Does that make sense? Okay. So values cannot be forced. They must be forged. How do you do that? Well, you just keep leading. You keep leading when you have nothing left but your driveway and a stain in your driveway, where your son's car burned before he went to college, like Mike would say. And you walk up and down your driveway every day with no church. You got you and God and a beautiful wife in the house and grandkids on the way, and you're walking up and down the driveway before the grandkids, and you're saying, who am I really? What's really going to happen? I don't have any direction, but I have values. I don't have any direction, but I have a culture. But I have a culture and I have values, and then we have this beautiful miracle start called the Mercy House. And it wasn't a matter of, well, what do we do next? It was a matter of, what do we infuse first? See, shared values are the internal compass that enables people to act independently and interdependently, simultaneously. Look at it's up here. Should be up here. Shared values are the internal compasses that enable people to act independently and interdependently, simultaneously. Leaders build on agreement. Okay? So here's what I want you to do. I hope now, if you go back to the front of the front page, you see legacies, values. You'll see honor, integrity, and excellence, spirit of excellence, because excellence honors God and reflects his character. Okay? Now, do y'all have 1, 2, or 3 at your table? Okay? I know this wasn't very exciting. This is like we built the 7-course block down in the basement, and then we fixed it, and then we're waiting for the cement to dry. That's what this is. But when this is dried, when it dried and revival comes, and if anything going on in our country, when it comes, boom, you're not going to have time to go, what's our values again? What do we do? What's our person? No, we're all fighting with each other, and we have a church split. We don't have the guts or the nerve to stand up and say, this is who we are. I didn't go left or right when Charlie Kirk came. I had the whole bird with me. Why? Because I have stood during COVID with my pastor. I have stood during the hellish times in the same. You see? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a few minutes, and I want you, this is important for legacy. Now, I know it's important for your church, but it's important for legacy. I want you to share your 1, 2, or 3 values with each other. Here's why. Because once you share them, then they become shared, right? Does it make sense? Right. Now watch this. Then you're now on the hook, especially if you all go to the same church. Then when you approach somebody with an issue, you approach somebody with vision, when you approach somebody with anything going on, you could say, wait a minute, wait, Mark's loyalty and integrity and honor. So now I know how to talk to Mark. And it's not to schmooze them. It's to, hey, I know this is your personal value. So I'm coming to you in your value stream. Because if we say, this is cute until it gets in our heart. So honor, integrity, spirit of excellence, that's legacy. That has been tried and true. But what's yours? And then once you learn it with each other, then they're forged together. So go ahead, take a little bit of time. Take a few minutes. Talk to your table. Start with your number 1.